First of all, just bringing, Bain, BCG and all to campus was a very big achievement in
Yeah, of
itself. It
course.
was like you've always dreamt of working at these places, and then you get an opportunity to apply there. It's big in itself.
Today we are in conversation with Jeneesha Singh, an alumni from Masters Union and part of our first cohort. She's working as an associate consultant at Bain and Company, where she's been for almost the last year. And in our conversation today, we'll talk to her about her experiences at Bain, about the shift from digital workplaces to physical workplaces, about what exactly consultants do, the difference between a back end and a front end office. Apart from all the experiences she had at Masters Union during her placement prep, as well as an interesting story of how she was rewarded when she got her offer from Bain. Is
Yeah.
it usually early mornings for consultants?
Luckily, it's not been that early morning for me, but it depends on your case. For me, it's been mostly Indian cases, so it's been good, but I think it depends on your luck.
So what, say someone doesn't get lucky, what time do they have to kind of get in?
Not that early. I think it's more about late nights than early
Then early
morning.
mornings? Interesting. So how come, like, in this, let's say, over the course of the conversation, I'd want to demystify consulting a bit. You've been in the profession for a year,
Yeah.
post Masters Union, and just understand your experiences there. So how about we start with just maybe a simple day in your life, like at work. I understand you joined at the time where it was digital and because of the pandemic as well. So perhaps you could talk about transitioning from that to a physical workspace as well and how Bain has handled that.
So my first case required a client visit, and the client was Dubai based, so we used to work out of Dubai. And a day, I can describe a day there. So you're waking up, you're interacting with your team first thing in the morning. Every meeting has a lot more to contribute. You're interacting, then you have these little breaks. You're interacting a lot more at client site as well. You're getting to know the team there. Um, and I feel like if you're working out of office, you don't know when the day goes by. It's I mean, it day feels shorter as compared to when you're working from home. And again, it depends a lot on my work. If I mean, I cannot get into detail of what we were doing, but it involved a lot of interaction with client. And then you can go, I mean, I think even the breaks, something like lunches, coffee breaks, evening walks, dinners, all of that is together. So it's a lot more dynamic. And then you get free, but not free, but you get leave office at decent hours, and you always have work after you reach hotel. So don't worry, even if you get free, you won't be free from your work.
So even though you're enjoying, you're basically saying you're always
Yeah, but
working
you're
all the time.
enjoying that. So that's why the hours don't matter when you're in office. It matters more when you're at home because you're really counting. For me, I'm really counting because I'm at one place, and after a point, I'm just tired of looking at screen and not interacting with anyone. And that's the whole reason why I joined consulting, because I like interacting with people a
Got it.
lot. And whenever I'm in office, it feels 10x better.
So just to kind of to double down on that part, that
Yeah.
consulting is about interacting with
Yeah.
others and stuff. So, again, I want to come back to my previous question. Like, you do management consulting, right?
Yeah.
So what is that, and like how is it different from, say, someone who does tech consulting or HR consulting, and maybe is it like what kind of clients are you dealing with? Is it a different scale of, let's say, capital that they have, or do they do different kinds of projects that these other firms or other sectors of consulting are not able to do? What do you think it is?
So management consulting is basically overall consulting. So we do mainly strategy consulting. Now that strategy can be anything. If a client wants to expand their business, if a client wants to enter a new territory, or any smaller problems. For me, my first case was a more like a 360-degree strategy. It was a long running case. So we're helping out them with everything, basically, from something as big as running CEO office to new initiatives they want to start under marketing. So they are basically taking our suggestion for everything, because that kind of bond has been built, and we are very closely connected with the client. My second case was a limited time case. So when there's a limited time case, they come up with a problem statement. That problem statement will be around overall how to expand, that's usually, or if they are potentially exploring a vertical integration or exploring, say, a new division that they want to run, and they want us to assess how profitable or how beneficial it will be for their firm. So management consulting is basically more of an overall consulting than just looking into one operational. So if you compare with the tech consulting, if you compare it with HR consulting, that will be very specific to very detailed roles, very specific, and at very niche level. We are doing at a level that is above, that is from, say, a macro level, that
More generalized.
more generalized, more from CEO's office, more from CXO's office, something that you need. Of course, if it requires implementation, we'll help them with the nuances of it, but our idea is to build the overall strategy.
Got it.
And it can be part of, we deal with tech startups, so it can involve those things. There are so many times when we have to go outside our generic management consulting and get a new skill, in fact, work with experts, understand the tech HR part of it, because we are working across industries, we are working across functions. So those nuances come up, but it's more about generic, building that generic strategy for the firm.
Generalized, application of that.
Yeah.
So again, another couple of things that you mentioned that I'd like to unpack. You said that you work across sectors, across different things. So would you say that there's any benefit to having work that's across the span of many things in terms of learning, and given that you've spent almost a year, I'd say, have you learned more about the industry or a couple of different industries in a shorter span of time?
So I think it's initially, especially for me as a fresher, it worked out really well. And initially, I think that is the right way to go about, till you understand which industry works best for you, where your interests lie, and where you can excel. Initially, for first 2 years, it's best to explore. And mine were very different. My first industry was e-commerce, and my second industry was traditional fertilizers. So they were completely two opposite industries. So, and it's been a very different, interesting experience. I've got to learn. So I would recommend, I highly recommend. And I think in initial years, you don't have that much of a choice because you haven't built a skill in one industry. But after 2 years, or if you're joining at a senior position where you already have a hold over a single industry, then you will be obviously inclined towards those cases.
Got it. Like they say in school, if you are undecided of what you want to do, you take science. So is it like the professional version of that? Like,
I think consulting is a professional version of that.
Of science. Okay, interesting. Another thing you mentioned, you said you interact a lot with the clients and stuff. And I understand, there's a back end and then there's a front end of consulting. And there's different offices that are usually kept for that. Could you explain what happens? What does the back end do? And then what does the front end do? And why do they keep these as, like, say, separate offices according to you?
Okay, so back-end office is completely separate unit.
Okay.
So ours is completely front-end. Back-end is basically to support the front end. We send in requests for the kind of research we need. So they basically support us with research-intensive work. I haven't directly worked with back-end till now. We haven't had the need to work with back-end till now. But so basically for back-end offices, at least Bain has 3 and they're regional. So APAC has 1, which is in Gurgaon. So that comes under the APAC PCN office.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
And then every region will have 1.
Understood.
So, and they just don't support the Indian offices. They will support other offices all over APAC.
Understood.
So they will support you, and we send in requests for the kind of research we want. And I think then they pick up the requests. So that is more research intensive, and there you have different sections. So you know what you're working on. For us, it's very generalized, right? We don't have a center of excellence, or for them, if they're working in mergers and acquisitions, so they have defined roles. So they work in those areas. So the cases that require that kind of information or that involves that kind of vertical will be directly mapped to them, depending on their vertical. With us, it's general management consultings. We don't have any division.
And you mentioned interaction with the client as well.
Because we have to interact with client, because consulting really works hand in hand with client, whatever data they have to provide. Because it is a lot about understanding how client runs their business, and it's a lot about aligning with client at every step if they want to do something. We cannot just have one meeting at the beginning and then come up with a solution at end of say 3 months. You have to have regular check-ins with senior leadership, and then you're interacting on daily basis with say medium level a leadership, because you want to understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Got it.
You need data from them, so it really goes hand in hand. You need to you
Understood.
need client support as well.
So there's another aspect that I want to unpack and also bring in Masters Union here is that you usually see back end firms hiring, as you said, freshers. Like people who are fresh out of college. We usually see statistically that they're given more back end opportunities at the start of the career. Masters Union, we were grateful that we had front end consulting companies come to hire in our first year. So that led you to going towards the front end. So let's focus down on like the Masters Union and maybe the last couple of months before placements. How was the process, leading up to it? Was there's, let's say, obviously there would be nerves and anxiety, but I just want to understand it from a placement preparation point of view and how, say, interventions from peers or, fellow friends or the Masters Union team, like, how did that help you out?
I think first of all, just bringing Bain, BCG, and all to campus was a very big achievement
Yeah,
in
of
itself. It
course.
was like you've always dreamt of working at these places, and then you get an opportunity to apply there. It's big in itself. And I started preparing very early, in fact. So I think Bain came around in July, but I started preparing in February just because I wanted
The job that bad.
job, and I thought that whatever however you prepare for consulting, it really helps you in overall interviews for in fact any other job. How you solve cases, it's not about just solving cases. It really tells how you think, so you're just improving your problem solving things, and it's not always about framework. It's just knowing how to solve a problem in say a clearer manner than you normally do.
More structured thinking.
More structured thinking, and it eventually comes. Initially there are frameworks to help you think, but once you get a hang of it, you just start thinking in that way. Framework is just a tool to help you think. So I started preparing, and I have a best friend who is my buddy, so we used to do a case every day with each other, and that was just part of our routine. And then we stopped, so our internships began in June and stopped for a while, and then we started again. And I think this was just 2-3 weeks before the Bain shortlist came, and that has been great because you could really reach out to anyone, and they were always ready to help. I think everyone was just doing cases with everyone, and they were giving in their best advice to each other. So not holding anything back. There is no unhealthy competition. And I started preparing 2-3 weeks before shortlist, and when the shortlist came, it was exciting. It was,
Of
I
course.
mean,
I mean, you seeing your name there, you
but
would have
it was exciting, but I think I was more nervous because now I had that pressure, and now I'm right in the center of the game. Till now I was just preparing without any, I did not have something to exactly look forward to. I was just prepping myself up, getting the hang of it. But when you have that, you have that one single goal, I think then your practice also doubles up, kind of.
understood.
Yeah. And then I did not, I think I did not have to go out of Masters Union at all to practice. Like everything I needed was inside. Nothing, like I did not have to contact anyone, none of my friends, no professional help, nothing. I think everything I did, with the sessions that were organized by Masters Union Consulting Club, they helped, they helped build that base. And I think each one of us, even the Bain shortlist, they had so many resources with them, and we kept sharing, within the group, and whatever the problems we were finding, we were just telling each other, I made this kind of mistake, maybe don't make this kind of mistake, just helping. And I never saw people will be so invested in seeing me succeed. Like they'll be putting in effort. I remember there was this birthday party just like 1 week before Bain interview, in the hostel, my friend's birthday. And at that time, I actually saw people were really, really, vouching for all of us. They came up to me, they've told me, you have to just clear it and we're with you. And I could see it in their eyes and how genuine it was. And it was really, really nice to see how emotional, the kind of emotional support we got. We were not at home. I think I did not need to be at home because there was so much support here in terms of everything. Whenever we were nervous, whenever we thought things are not going right, and whenever we thought, it's been just too much, they'll take you out, let's go for a coffee, let's relax. So, and so I think they just made journey way more beautiful. Every time I was nervous, even in parties, I used to be a bit lost when, I was prepping. And they always ended up boosting my confidence because they had so much confidence in me that, that made me think that I need to have confidence in myself. And then when we got the result, I think this is the best part. Pratham called us to college, and I mean, we were called like out of blue. It was very scary. We didn't know what result will be, and he had this poker face. And so when we got when we were told that we got in, when we went back to hostel, they all were waiting outside the hostel in one line in this 2 hours. So there were some of the people in college that it was holiday, so they must have informed everyone at hostel. Within like a span of an hour or two, they arranged. So they bought nariyal. they were holding this mugs of water to pour it on our feet. They made us do that.
Wow.
Yeah, they did that. It was whenever I see that video or picture, it still makes me feel so overwhelmed. They made tika out of lipstick. They had Hershey's as prasad, and then they cut out confetti with them. Like, they had this paper, they made it themselves, and then
they went the full yard.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And they were all waiting. It felt, because it was a very long process. It was first year, so it takes time to impanel and everything. It was like every single person was waiting, bus, when will Bain's result will be out. Like,
wow.
So it was, this is what they did. So I think,
it goes to show the spirit of, like you, as you said, there's no unhealthy competition.
Yeah.
It's very collaborative. And as I can see, like, so much peer learning, as you said, that people are helping you out or helping each others out with saying, hey, this is a mistake I made. If you know, you shouldn't make it in the future. Rather than, that's the best kind of help that you can give to someone else, I'd say. So looking out for someone else.
Looking out for someone, being genuinely happy for them. And this is the kind of environment which you do not find anywhere. I mean, nowhere. I think. I think I can vouch for this. I'm sure there is, there's a lot of unity and everything in most colleges. But to go to this extent for your peers, and even the people who did not make it to Bain, they were equally happy. I did not even feel for a second that someone was trying to bring me down or someone felt bad about my achievement. They did not feel that way because it was genuinely out there.
So recently I had seen you at the convocation that we'd had recently for our first cohort. And how was that experience for you?
It was, I think we waited a lot for our convocation with COVID and with new batch coming in. I think it was great to finally see all of us coming back together. And this is something I will tell you. We need more alumni meets. Like, we need a lot of alumni meets because I love my batch and I will jump to any, opportunity to meet them again and to, experience the time we had together. I think.
Great. We will leverage your enthusiasm.
Yeah, definitely. Please. I will be there. You can hold. I'm saying it on camera.
You are. Yeah. For sure.
And it was absolutely, and we don't have convocation for our undergrad. Delhi University doesn't. So it was a very new experience and it was interesting. And with Nithin Kamath coming and speaking, I think it's inspirational in itself because I don't think he has attended any convocation.
Yeah, that was his first
before.
ever, he's famous for, not really being fond of MBAs.
Yeah.
But knowing what Masters Union is, he was kind enough to come down and, speak. Actually, want to talk about that. You've previewed that in your answer. Is like that's the culture at Masters Union you experienced, which was this practitioner based, people coming and doing guest sessions, CXO lessons, etc. But to have Nithin Kamath, even I was also there just to kind of hear what he was speaking about. How he was speaking about his stuff. What were the takeaways for you? Or what was the I actually want to ask, this culture or this having broken down of barriers between someone who's, let's say at starting their career and someone who's at a very senior position. I don't see much of a, anxiety or nervousness at any master's union student to interact with, someone of that caliber. Would you say that's true?
I think we've been throughout our college, we've been interacting with people. I mean, I could not have imagined interacting with them otherwise. And, we've always got that one-to-one space with most of the people who've come and taught us. And, there are so many people who've come and taught us. There's been Rajat Mathur, who's MD of Morgan Stanley. So I think all of them, even he was there at convocation. And because we know that's how we've been, I would say brought up in Masters Union. We know how to do it really well. And that's what your real life is about. So I think Masters Union is actually training you for everything you need in your real life. And I think Nithin Kamath coming for our convocation, a person who doesn't believe in MBAs, validates the fact that what Masters Union is teaching in form of MBA is what really helps you in your life.
That's true.
You're building stories, you're building skills, you're building things that you'll actually end up using, I feel, in every aspect of your life. Even if you want to start your own business, if you want to network. And with us also, every single day at Masters Union was different. I mean, you really can't predict what will happen tomorrow, because every day there's just new interesting activities. Like if someone has to tell me, how was your day at Masters Union, and this has been a very common question, I have always told them that, it's every day is new. You just don't know. It's not at all monotonous. I mean, yeah, you do have classes, but what happens in classes is something new. This new activities we keep coming with. I really can't describe a single day, and I think it's been multitude of experiences that has built us. That has made what we are today.
Interesting. Remember we gave him a guitar that you all signed? Yeah, so we saw recently he was playing it in his cafeteria and stuff. That's actually being used in the Zero Daka office.
That's actually very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
It's an interesting takeaway for him as well. And depending on when this episode is coming out, we might have interesting news about Zero Da, or have announced interesting news about Zero Da. So, surprise on that front as well.
I'm looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some, quick fire questions now, right?
Okay.
I, want to ask and take your first, let's say, initial thoughts on these things. And we'll wind down, by talking about, say, the three things that we usually ask our guests about.
This is like my coffee with Karan moment.
Yeah,
I think.
It's unfortunate that my name is also Karan. So
oh, that's
it's
perfect.
pretty serendipitous. So favorite professor at Masters Union?
You put me in tough spot.
Go on.
Rajat Mathur.
Okay. Favorite course at Masters?
Course.
Yeah. Or favorite class?
I think Arts of Communication.
The Mihir Bankar course?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Favorite assignment?
Can I go with the pre-term one?
Yeah.
The Indie Roots, the drop shipping project. Amazing. It was one hell of an experience.
Interesting. Favorite, let's say, event? Okay, let's split it. Let's say cultural event, and then there's the club or the MUIF, MUIL events and stuff.
Oh, Enigma.
Enigma? What was that? Could you tell us?
Yeah, it was a 4-day marathon. So first day we literally auctioned each other. So there were people who were selected as leaders, and they literally bought us. They auctioned us, and then we got our teams.
Okay.
And then every day was a new challenge. One day you're coming up with your business model canvas. One day you have to submit something, and the final day was when you had to make an elevator pitch, and then you had a PPT, and those 5 days were intense. We did not sleep, but it was so enriching, and it was so exciting, and everything and we had to come up with a new business plan, because that was the ultimate aim. And then we had amazing people coming as judges. I think for most of the people And that was the first very intense event. We were just 2 months into college, and it's a very new college. I mean, first 2 months, you're just trying to figure out what to do. And to come up with an event like this, hats off to the Enigma team. It was very well thought of, very well organized. And it was something that really stayed with us. It just did not help us, Of course, it helped us in a way that we thought about new ideas, but it really helped us bond as a batch also in the beginning. And we did not mind no sleep. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to explain, because there was so much happening in this 4 days. It just didn't, I don't know where it went by. Every day it was something new, and we were running to complete our tasks.
Interesting. I mean,
Very interesting. I think it was a very good event.
yeah, I mean, we've had many startup weekends, say
Now.
crypto hackathons,
Yeah.
and even upcoming, we have a lot of things planned that are, let's say, non-traditional and also require students not to sleep.
Yeah.
So that seems like a common theme for, all the challenges that you definitely have. But, just for the people who are watching this, you do sleep, right? You do get rest.
No, we definitely do get
Yeah.
rest. And whenever we're not sleeping, that's by our choice. And that's because the things we're doing are so interesting that we don't want to sleep. I don't think there was any day where I would, I mean, of course, you're tired. So you're like, you say things like you're not getting enough sleep and all. But it was by choice, by whether it's for the parties or whether it's for these tasks.
So, continuing with my favorite questions, how about favorite moment or favorite memory from Masters Union to kind of close?
There's so many. I think that's a very unfair question, because I've enjoyed literally.
Has to be off the top of your head.
I mean, I think I've already discussed the one where I got into Bain. So that takes
Takes
the
cake.
first
No, makes
position.
sense. No, that makes sense. We're launching admissions soon for our 4th cohort. And
Okay.
that's going to be another, let's say, class of very interesting, curious, ambitious individuals who want to come to Masters Union and experience, like, as you have the non-traditional curriculum that we have. So, one of the most popular questions that, we've been getting over the last couple of weeks or years actually is that, hey, I'm from a non-tech background. How do I, how will I be able to do the tech at Masters Union along with the business aspect of it? I believe you've also gotten this
Yeah.
hundreds of times.
And I can say it with a shorty, because I am as far as it can get with,
Yeah.
from tech.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from an economics background, and I don't think I was a very tech savvy person as such. I mean, yes, using phone, if you call that, I don't think that's tech savvy. So I don't think they have nothing to worry about, because everything that is taught, especially during the first few terms, it's basic, it's core, and you literally taught from scratch. So there is, I mean, when you're starting from scratch, in fact, it's great to have people who have tech background in your batch, because then they are there to help. And we had few. So you always have people to reach out, not just your professors, but even your peers. So it's
Yeah.
great. And it was mostly with all the courses. So if I am done economics, they can reach out to me for economics. And if they're CAs, you can always reach out to them for finance. With tech, no one has anything to worry about, because we start from a very basic level, and then it's on you how advanced you want to go with that.
Makes
And a lot of people actually get, I saw them switching fields, getting into tech after coming into Masters Union, and doing it very conveniently. Because because so many activities,
Yeah.
so many courses are very unique. Like, you have an app development course, you have machine learning, and there's so many activities that involve, thinking futuristic, basically, because tech is the future. So I think a lot of people, Masters Union is one place which really makes you inclined towards tech, and
No, that answers it perfectly.
Yeah.
And another, super popular question, and it's perfect that you're here, is a lot of freshers ask us, hey, I'm a fresher. Is this place right for me? Will I be able to, deliver or get the right outcomes for myself? But so having, been in a similar experience, what would you say to that?
I mean, I'm right here sitting
Yeah,
in
exactly.
front of it. I think it's an example in itself. Even all the freshers in our batch, they all are so well placed. And I don't think if you were to ask anyone, they'll say they felt that they were deprived of any opportunity because you were sitting with experienced people. Because even freshers had so much to bring to the table. People coming from real, say, after working, they have a very different perspective. and they're also very excited to know that, excited to kind of go back in their life and see us coming and talking. It's always great because it's literally a mix of both. We do get guidance from them, how things have been for them, and they get a whole lot of new fresh energy that we bring. And all of them were very smart. I don't think at any point I felt like I was treated like someone who doesn't know enough. Or I mean, I did teach economics to people who were experienced. So I think every single person has something unique to bring. It doesn't matter if you're a fresher or if you've worked for so many years. Every opportunity was very well aligned with where we are coming from, how much experience we have. So there was no chance of, being treated unfair. They were completely divided, and in a way that, these are the roles that go to experienced people. These are roles that anyone can do, even freshers.
So it was democratic enough for everyone.
It was democratic enough. And I don't think there was a discrimination as such, because when you're coming to do MBA kind of standardized where you stand. Even for Bain, I mean, it matters a bit. Maybe you get like a fast track of 6 months, but even if you're experienced, if you do MBA, that kinds of levels it.
I mean, they're coming to hire because you're from Masters Union, not because you're more experienced or less experienced.
And of course, your experience and whatever you do adds, but what you've learned in Masters Union is ultimately really going to prove your...
And so for the final question, for people applying, and, making their application, what would be one piece of advice that you would give them? How should they approach their application so that, they can maximize their chance to be here?
I think be candid. I think Masters Union really loves candid, genuine, authentic stories. And I think that's what makes it... I mean, of course, prepare for your entrance exams. I mean, I think that's given. That's
the basics.
But when you're writing essays, you don't have to be the most idealistic person and say the most idealistic things. You just have to be genuine. The story can be as small as, something most people might find very insignificant. But if it's important to you, just write about it. And Masters Union will really appreciate, because we really appreciate, individual stories here. So I would just suggest them to be candid, be themselves. And even when they come for interview, you have open conversations. People really, really are supportive of that here, even the interviewers. So
great. Yeah. That wraps it up. Thank you, Jeneesha. It was a great conversation. Hope you enjoyed being back at, your old campus.
I think I always enjoy that. It just brings back a lot of memories.
Hello, great. Hopefully we've made a lot more here. And thanks, I think.
Thank you.